You should not play blackjack if you don't know these 100%, zero mistakes. I've been getting multiple messages on Instagram, which by the way makes me very happy, but there's one message that it caught my attention about the chart and basic strategy. And this is something that I'm finding very interesting. How many people know about blackjack? How many people have been playing blackjack for years? And even though they might know about the chart, no one truly understands how important it is to understand this, because blackjack is made by every little percentage possible, and if you do not follow these, it doesn't matter how good you think you are, you're never gonna achieve anything. Now you're just putting yourself in a situation that is not even worth putting your money in. If you go to Las Vegas just to throw away your money, have fun, then this is not the video for you. You need to have a perfect knowledge. And when I mean perfect, I mean zero mistakes in order to get this little advantage. That's why I'm here today, to explain you hand by hand every situation, because I get it. This chart, the first time that I saw it, I was a little bit scared, and it might be overwhelming the first time. What I like the most about this chart is divided by the three sections that you have to understand. First, let me explain to you the line, and the horizontal line here is the dealer's hand. Remember that the dealer is going to have two cards, but one of the cards is going to be face down, so you're not going to be able to see it. And you are going to receive two cards that you're going to be able to see. So your number is going to be here on the left, and the dealer's card is going to be up here. Now remember that all your actions in blackjack, they're going to be based on the dealer's card. That card that is up, you're going to base everything on that card, and you're going to have that number right here. We have three main sections with these hard totals, soft hands, and splits. Just remember that if you want to split, you need to have the same two numbers always. Now, the difference between a hard hand or a soft one is the ace. The ace is a card that it can be counted as 1 or 11. So you might have a hard 17, which is going to be a 10 and a 7, or you might have a soft 17, which is going to be an ace and a 6, because you can count that ace as a 1 and you might have a 7, or you can count that ace as an 11 and then you have a 17. You're going to see letters in the charts. You're going to see H, which means hit. That's when you're going to ask for another card. You can have an S, which is 10. That means that you're standing there, you're not going to ask for anything else. Then you have the white, which you're going to split, and then you have the D, which is double down. Remember that when you split, you have to put the same amount of money, and when you double down, there's casinos that they're going to let you put less money, double for the less, but I do not never recommend you that. If you double down, always double down with the same amount, because if you don't, then the math, it doesn't make sense. So always double down by the same amount that you have on the table. Now we know about the chart, we know how important it is, we know about the letters in the chart. Now we're going to talk about each section. So we have the hard totals. As we said, there's no ace involved. You're not always going to stay if you have a 17, and you're not always going to stay if you have an 18. If it's a hard 18 or hard 17, yes. But if it's soft, then things change a little bit. But we'll talk about soft hands later. Right now, 17 and up, you're always going to stay. 8 and down, you're always going to hit. Now let's start from the bottom. If you have an 8, you're always going to hit. Now, if you have a 9, you're always going to hit, except if the dealer is showing the card number 3, 4, 5, or 6. On this situation, you're going to double down. Only double down if you have a 9, not an 8, and if the dealer has 3, 4, 5, or 6. That's it. Now, 10s and 11s, they're pretty easy. You're always gonna double down with a 10, except if the dealer has a 10 or an ace. I've seen a lot of people that they double down a 10 against the 10, and that's a mistake. The way that I remember it is 10 against a 10, they hit each other. It's like they fight. So 10 versus 10, you always hit, you don't double down. Now the 11, it doesn't matter what the dealer has. You're always going to double down an 11. There's a lot of people that they don't want to double down the 11. Don't do it, the dealer has an ace. So even though it might not make a lot of sense to you, there's math behind this chart. So even though you might lose a lot with specific certain hands, It's just the math might be on your side by zero point 0.1 or zero point 0.0 something, but it's in a positive side. So do not listen to people saying, no, but it works for me because I've been playing forever and I know. No, 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 no. When I start playing, I remember getting very emotional and I remember being insecure about my knowledge. And a lot of other players in the table trying very nicely to help me, they got in my head a lot of times. And that's the first rule you have to understand. There's no emotions here. That's a great lesson that Blackjack has teach me, and I also apply that to the rest of my life. There's things that they shouldn't be emotional. It doesn't matter what you feel. It doesn't matter if you're down a lot of money. It doesn't matter how much money he's making. The only thing that matters is you following this chart. Okay, now let's move to the 12. The 12 is a tricky one. If the dealer has a 4, 5, or 6, then you're gonna stay. A lot of people forget that you should hit on a 12 against our 2 or 3. Yes, it's a horrible hand. Yes, you're gonna lose it a lot of times, but still, it's better if you hit. You're gonna end up losing less times if you hit a 12 against a 2 or a 3 than if you don't hit. So yeah, 12, yeah, you're gonna lose a lot, but you have to hit a 12 against a 2 and a 3. Do not forget that. And if the dealer has 4, 5, or 6, you're just 10. Now, if the dealer has 7 or up, then you're gonna hit. The same thing happens with majority of the higher totals. From 12 to 16, if the dealer has a 7 or up, you're always gonna hit. And if the dealer has a 6 or down, you're always gonna stand. But that 12 is tricky because with a 2 and a 3, you also hit. So the only two tricky things from the hard totals is remember the 9 and remember the 12. Also remember that 10 against the 10, they hit each other, so you have to ask for a new card. Now we're going to talk about splitting. Splitting is very fun because things can go very good or things can go very bad very quick. Because when you double down, you just get one more card and that's it. Fun is over. But when you split, now you're playing 2 or 3 or even 4 hands, and then you get a second card which you can still keep splitting or double down, or it's just the fun or the disaster can get magnified. Before we get into split cards, let me tell you 3 super important rules about splitting. You're always going to split 8s. Remember that 16 is the worst hand that you can possibly have, so you always want to split 8s. Now always split aces and never, 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 ever split 5s. If you're playing basic strategy, do never split 10s. There's a lot of people that they think that's cool, or they might have seen a movie or something. Do not split 10s. You only do this if you're doing some other advanced calculations, and still is a tricky option to do for many other reasons, but do never split 5s and do never split 10s, and always split aces and 8s. Now we have 9s again, which is a little bit tricky. A lot of people, they see an 18 and they want to stand because you have an 18, right? It's a very good hand. Or what happens if you have an 18 against a 6? That sounds great, right? Well, no. Careful with this hand. There's a lot of people that play it wrong, and this is how you should play it. You're always going to split the 9s, except if the dealer has a 7, a 10, and an ace. So always remember the 9s and the 7 because this one is a tad bit tricky and a lot of people don't do it. 9s don't split if the dealer has a 7, a 10, or an ace. Now 7s and 6s, they're easy because you're always going to split 7s if the dealer has anything including 7 and under. And you're always going to split 6s if the dealer has anything that goes from the 6 and under. That's why it's easy to remember, 7, 7, 6, 6. Now 2s and 3s, they work the same way than the 7s. You're only gonna split 2s and 3s if the dealer has a 7 or anything under a 7, including the 7. Now 4s, you're only gonna split 4s if the dealer has a 5 or a 6. And now we finally got to the moment of the soft hands. So let's start from the top here. An ace and a 9, you're always gonna stay. And if you have an ace and an 8, you're always gonna stay, except if the dealer has a 6. And this is one of the most scary things that I have to do every time that I play blackjack, which is doubling down an ace and an 8, because who wants to double down if you already have a beautiful 19? I get it. It sounds stupid. It doesn't matter. Just do it. If you are scared of making the decisions that you should make that's gonna cost you money long term. Now we're gonna talk about my favorite hand, which is a soft 18. It's an ace and a 7. Why is this my favorite hand? Because it's the only hand in blackjack that you can do the three different options. Well, you cannot split, of course. You can hit, you can double down, and you can stay. Everything together in the same hand. With an ace and a 7, you're always gonna double down. If the dealer has a 6 or anything under, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you're gonna double down. Now, if the dealer has a 7 or an 8, you're gonna stand. But if the dealer has 9, 10, or ace, you're gonna hit. I know, it's weird. And this is the hand that gets the most hate on the table. And I see people looking at me. I know that they're gonna judge me, but I don't care. Remember, double down if the dealer has 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Stand if the dealer has 7 or 8, and always hit. It hurts my heart to do this, but you have to always hit if the dealer is showing a 9, 10, or an ace. This is the hand that anybody follows. You should do it and just be happy about it. Every time that I get this hand, I just laugh and smile and just follow the rules. The way that I memorized these long ago was going upstairs. So if you have an ace and a 2 or an ace and a 3, you're only gonna double down if the dealer has 5 or 6. Now, if you have one step up, if you have an ace and a 4 or an ace and a 5, now you're always gonna double down if the dealer has 4, 5, 6. And if you have an ace and a 6, you're gonna double down if the dealer has 3, 4, 5, 6. And if you have an ace and a 7, you're gonna double down if the dealer has 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's why it has this weird going downstairs. There's one thing that I recommend that I used to do. I have in my nightstand a bunch of empty charts. They're white. So they have the numbers, the dealer numbers, and they have your hands, but they're white, they're empty. So every day I used to fill those with my hand in each situation until I was not making any mistake. And I was doing it every day, every day, every day, and just highlighting the mistakes in red that I was making. If you do these, you're gonna get better, 100%. And then once you're not making any mistake, what you can do is time yourself. Like, okay, I'm gonna fill the whole chart in a minute, boom, and you do it. And then try to get better and get faster. Because if you're able to fill this out very fast, that means that it's already sink in your brain. You should not play blackjack until this chart is so memorized in you that when you have the hands in front of you, you don't have to think about it. It's like a mechanic automatic thing. Until then, I will not recommend you play. Or if you want to play, I recommend you two things. One, play with little amount of money. And also, I want you to know that there's a lot of casinos that they will let you have the chart printed. Don't go with a book on the table. I tried to do that at the beginning one time, and they were not very happy. Also, they're not gonna let you have a laptop or an iPad or a phone. So try to have it printed, like a little thing printed. Or there's many casinos that they even sell it for like $1. Always ask first if you can put this on the table, but they're probably gonna let you do it, and that's better than you making mistakes. Another thing that I want to point out is do not get any pressure. You're learning and you have the right to take all your time. I've seen it, and that happened to me, that just because other players are looking at you or because you're trying to remember, oh my God, what should I do if I have these? Oh, I forgot. It's okay. Just take your time and think about it. Don't get rushed, because that's what happened to my friend the last trip that we were together, and that's how he lost all his money. It was just whatever, just hit. No, 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 no. It's not whatever, just hit. No, think about it until you're sure about your answer. It doesn't matter the pressure, or if the dealer, there's a lot of mean dealers that they will look at you very bad and they're gonna make you feel bad. It doesn't matter. Take your time and breathe. You should be able to stop that table as long as you need. Fun fact, I used to have this chart as my wallpaper in my iPad and in my phone. At the beginning, every time that I wanted to play blackjack, I had to re-study. But one day you're gonna wake up and you're just gonna know these as good as you know your mom's birthday. Well, there's a lot of people that they don't know their mom's birthday, as well as you know your name. Now there's a little section here that I want to mention, and it's the surrender. Majority of the casinos are not going to allow you to surrender, but a couple of times I've seen it. It happens. There's casinos that they let you surrender. That's why I always ask if you can surrender just in case, because that is a great advantage for the player. But please, I've seen people surrendering everything that they didn't like. You're only gonna surrender with two hands, which is the 15 and the 16. Those are the worst hands that you can possibly have. And there's only 4 situations that you're gonna surrender. So if you have a 15, you're only going to surrender if the dealer is showing a 10. Now, if you have a 16, you're only going to surrender if the dealer is showing 9, 10, or ace. It's hard because a lot of people, when they know they have the ability to surrender and get half of their money, they start surrendering everything. But you have to control your emotions. You are able to surrender. Do not surrender everything. Just surrender these two hands and only do it in these very specific situations. And the last two things of basic strategy: never take even money, never take insurance. When you're losing and constantly losing, and then you get a blackjack finally, and they ask you for even money because the dealer is showing an ace, you're gonna be so tempted to just get the money. It doesn't matter, just get the money. The difference is so little, don't do it. Over time, we're here for the long run. Over time, that's gonna add up, and that's a mistake. Do not take insurance, do not take even money. This is the video. I know it might be a lot, so just take your time and let all this information sink in your brain. If you have any question, please text me. It makes me very happy to answer people and talk about blackjack. I could be talking about blackjack all day. If you like the video, follow, subscribe. But the thing that you should follow is this chart.